And you're gonna guide me. Because I can't do it alone.
If you were to ask what's the biggest box office bomb, or what movie had the most disastrous production, you'll hear a lot of movies in one conversation or the other, but only one movie can easily show up in both conversations. One movie that was one of the biggest hells on earth to film, only to be outshone at its premiere by the biggest surprise hit in history. And the funniest thing, it's actually a pretty good movie. And that's what we're here to talk about today. I doubt most of you watching have ever even heard of the movie Sorcerer before, but it was once expected to be one of the biggest hits in Hollywood history. Its creator, William Friedkin, just had the smash hit of the decade come out, a little film called The Exorcist. People today might not realize just how unfathomably massive a hit The Exorcist was when it came out in 1973, but to give you one reference, when you adjust for inflation, it's still one of the 10 biggest movies ever made. Nobody had seen anything like it. Studios in the 70s weren't even really sure how to market it, but when newspapers picked up that there was a movie coming out making grown adults faint and run screaming out of just the sneak previews, they kinda didn't need to. The movie was marketing itself.
The manager of the National Theater in Westwood says that there indeed are at least a dozen people who faint or become ill during every showing. But The Exorcist is still drawing sellout houses for every performance, complete with lines around the block.
Some people say Jaws was the first blockbuster, but look at that line right there. That block looks pretty busted to me. Even 50 years later, it still holds up. Seeing Reagan get slowly possessed by the devil is still one of the most unsettling things in cinema. And even if you're not scared by the film at all, it still has a lot to offer. Good characters you feel for, great music. I would also say a huge reason behind the film's success was the performance of Linda Blair. Being a 14-year-old who sent an entire nation screaming out of movie theaters is such a paramount of performance that nobody's really accomplished since, even though many have tried. But William Friedkin thought it was all him behind the success. And it was his name on the poster, and every studio on Earth wanted to work with him. And now, with them handing him blank checks and telling him to make whatever he wants, Friedkin turns his attention to his next passion project. Sorcerer is an adventure thriller about 4 fugitives hiding in South America take a high-paying job driving 2 trucks of incredibly sensitive rotting dynamite hundreds of miles across the jungle. Every bump in the road and pothole might mean life or death. Each of them have a desperate need for the money and an interesting reason why. They don't know each other and they don't really like each other either, but they're gonna have to start working together if they don't want to explode. So there you have it, a tense thriller about 4 interesting characters doing the most dangerous gig on Earth. Sounds pretty cool, no? Universal thought so too, and straight after the record-breaking success of Exorcist, when Friedkin asked for a decent-sized budget of $12 million to make it, they handed it over no questions asked.
Earl, you've chosen this as your next film. This is going to be your next William Friedkin production. You come back to Los Angeles. How do you get a movie like this financed?
Oh, at that time they would have financed my nephew's bar mitzvah if I wanted them to do that. And budget was of no concern.
Friedkin said hearing over and over again how much he made a masterpiece and changed cinema history made him feel like he could do no wrong. Something that may or may not be coming back later. And Sorcerer was to be his magnum opus. Friedkin now had the green light, time to start making this thing. William wrote each part with specific actors in mind, but only one of those actors actually said yes to the film. They did get Roy Scheider though, or as you know him, the guy from Jaws. His other 3 leads weren't well known in America, but they did have a lot of success in their countries of origin. Friedkin did this so that it would help the film out abroad. Production was never planned to be cheap, but it was certainly planned to be a lot cheaper than it actually ended up being. Sorcerer was a story that took place all over the world, and now that you have money to spare, why not shoot on location? This might seem like a weird point, but you only have to listen to a little bit of Friedkin to realize how desperately he wants his films to feel realistic above all else.
And most of the great films operate like dreams. Sorcerer operates on a plane of reality. It's all meant to look and be real, and it is. There's no camera tricks. the bridge is the bridge. The blowing up of the big tree, or when a bank blows up, it's all, we did that. Most of the lines in the films I've done are not Shakespeare, you know. They're basically, you know, get your hands in the air, you know, bend over, you know, all this shit. You ever been to Poughkeepsie? You know, it's like graffiti. It's not like writing or something. It's the way people talk.
You might be thinking Exorcist isn't exactly a realistic story, and you're not wrong, but I would say it's because the film takes such a grounded, realistic tone is a huge part of what makes it so unsettling. Yes, it's a story about a girl slowly getting possessed by a demon, but the fact that the doctors can't figure out what's wrong with her gives the movie a really creepy plausibility that might not have worked without it. Friedkin wanted to recreate a similar feeling of realism to make sure that you're really captivated by the movie. From the very get-go, problems arose. When they were filming this mock explosion in Israel, they broke the windows of the actual mayor of Jerusalem's offices. And not long after, a real terrorist explosion happened 2 blocks away. Most directors probably would have cut set to get everyone to safety, but Friedkin had become a control freak maniac and demanded his crew and him go over to film it. When they were filming this car crash scene in New Jersey, Friedkin refused to concede on anything and destroyed real car after real car trying to make the stunt work. He was finally able to pull it off after a week by building a 40-foot ramp and finding a stuntman that could flip a car midair. Which he found, so hey. But they had just started production and were already a week behind schedule. And shooting got way harder once they were in the Dominican Republic. They couldn't see the footage right away and had to take a week to fly it to Los Angeles to get it developed before they could see anything. Which is a real problem when a lot of your footage turns out to be underexposed, aka worthless. Filming kept falling farther and farther behind schedule. Filming in those jungles, half the crew got gangrene, malaria, amoebic dysentery. Some went home, others got hospitalized, but all of them abandoned production. Even their main cinematographer dropped out. Their line producer quit because he was gone so long his wife was threatening to divorce him. Friedkin had to keep making quick calls to Universal, asking for more and more money to replace his crew. And they still hadn't filmed their most important, expensive scene yet. The bridge. This action scene is actually 2 scenes of both trucks trying to cross an unstable bridge in a storm that just won't let up. One person is driving the truck and the other's on the ground trying to do whatever he can to help guide it. Both praying to God that none of the million things that could set off these explosives do. And do they? You just gotta watch to find out. If you haven't seen Sorcerer, and I'm not gonna lie, the first half's kinda boring, but these scenes alone make the entire film worth watching. This is easily 2 of the best, most suspenseful scenes in all of cinema. It's tense, it's brooding, the entire film has been leading up to it. If there's one thing the filmmakers of this movie can pat themselves on the back about, it is for sure these 10 minutes of cinematic gold. Whoever did the marketing clearly thought that too. You see this one scene plastered over every poster and piece of marketing. But man, was this hell on earth to film. For one thing, this isn't a set. They actually built this bridge over a rapid river they found. It took 3 months and $1 million just to build. And Friedkin himself admits that even though it's on a hydraulic system with metal support, it was probably still life-threatening. Just to spit in their face, the rapid river began drying up during those 3 months it took to build. Film crew picked the river because when they started construction, it was 200 feet of strong current. But by the time the bridge finished, it was gone completely. $1 million for a bridge that's now worthless. Producers told him to just give up the scene already, but Friedkin was full megalomaniac at this point. And anyone left on his crew thought that they were too far in to quit now. Another money called Universal, who were now in talks with Paramount to help split the bill. And believe it or not, Paramount actually started contributing too. Because this was the guy who made Exorcist. There's no way this film can't make $1 bazillion. They packed up everything and flew to Mexico to find another river to build another bridge. They managed to track one down 100 miles south of Veracruz. It was a small village that had a similar deep rapid river. It was perfect to start rebuilding. But when the crew showed up, they noticed the villagers were carrying luggage and getting out of town. Apparently, they were a deeply religious village, and they turned and ran the second they found out the director of Exorcist was coming to film.
Hundreds, and was, in fact, hundreds of people leaving with sacks over their backs. Why are all these people from the village leaving? He said, because the director of The Exorcist is here. And it was a very...
What a metaphor.
They were a very religious people then.
Did you care?
I was, I didn't want people to leave their fucking home.
He felt bad, but he thought, what are you gonna do? At this point, he's decided that this bridge scene is gonna get made if it's the last thing he ever does. More months went by, only for actually seriously this river to start drying up as they're building a bridge over it too. Another call to Universal and Paramount for more money, and they were now building a massive pipe to pump in water from upriver, as well as dozens of sprinklers all across the bridge for a man-made rainstorm, because at this point nothing was getting left up to chance anymore. But they still weren't done with setbacks. As they keep going month after month over schedule, Friedkin notices he's getting lightheaded and body aches, but at this point he doesn't even care. He's gone. The only thing he's thinking about is this bridge scene. His grip crew and makeup artists are getting arrested for drug possession in the village. Whatever, says Friedkin, we'll go on without them. We just need this one final scene. We're too close. Imagine you're this guy. It's the summer of 1977. It's finally over. Months and months over schedule, most of your crew in the hospital. It took you double the budget you promised these two you could get the film made in, and they hate your guts right now. And you're pretty sure you picked up malaria that has caused you to lose 50 pounds from vomiting and diarrhea. It has been hell, but when this movie's a big hit, all will be forgiven. It's finally set to be the summer blockbuster of 1977. Apparently there's some other movie coming out around the same time, but it shouldn't be tough competition. It's like some moderately budgeted sci-fi film. We're gonna be fine. Okay, maybe you are cursed. I don't know if you've noticed, but even after 50 years, people still won't shut up about Star Wars. And when it came out, it created a movie mania no one had ever seen before, or really since. William Friedkin was actually offered a chance to produce Star Wars, but he only had his eyes on Sorcerer. A lot of people who don't do research say that Sorcerer came out the same weekend as Star Wars, but the reality is somehow even more gruesome. Sorcerer came out a month afterwards, but even in its 5th week at the box office, Star Wars ate it alive. They kicked Sorcerer out of the Hollywood Boulevard Chinese Theater just so they could put Star Wars back in. Also, Sorcerer and Star Wars, thematically and marketing-wise, are pretty close to polar opposites. Star Wars was a goldmine for merch opportunities. Sorcerer was not. Star Wars is upbeat, Sorcerer isn't. Star Wars pulls you in right away, Sorcerer really takes its time to get going. Friedkin, still very sick from malaria, now has the 2 biggest studios in Hollywood pissed off at him.
To now the most expensive film of your career, and it did not work.
How much time are you going to spend on this, Nick?
Well, because this is what I
I've
find
told you
interesting.
that the film was a disaster.
Right.
How better can I put it?
Well, I want to know what goes through your mind. Like what?
Oh, you feel like dancing. You
Right.
actually feel like going out and celebrating.
Right.
Buying the best bottle of champagne. You feel terrible.
This might feel like a weird thing for me to cover, but I felt like my channel needed a slight more positive note talking about a bunch of projects that almost came out but never did. So here's a project that almost didn't come out but somehow found a way to. And that is something you have to give William Friedkin. Regardless of how many setbacks they hit on the road, he did finish the job. The movie got made, bridge scene and all, and anybody who wants can watch it. I do appreciate too that Friedkin is not embarrassed by the setbacks and that he's actually proud of what he made. Life doesn't always work out the way we planned. Anyone who's lived a little bit of life knows that. But a big part of what matters is just rolling with the punches, which Friedkin did and then some. Is there a lesson to be learned in all this? I suppose it's that no amount of effort is truly wasted. If you put your heart and soul into something, someone out there is guaranteed to notice. So do it for the best results. Friedkin didn't just sit on his hands waiting for the perfect opportunity to try to make something. He went out and he made one, heavy lifting and all.
Black and white and so on and so forth. Yeah, what were you thinking?
Nothing. No, nothing. You know, it's not about thinking. It's about doing. Filmmaking is about picking up a camera, going out in the streets, and shooting pictures that first appear in your mind's eye, that you then have to translate somehow through a crew and a cast. And there's not a lot of time for thinking, to be honest with you.